All right, welcome back. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I created this chart that I kind of gathered all of the information about ship upgrades from the ship's core to go over it a little bit, and some patterns started to emerge. I thought we could maybe do a little bit of speculation as to the future of what ships might look like based on the information the developer's given us here. So I want to start with the size upgrade, since that is the largest amount of data that they've given us is the size upgrade category. So the first two tiers, and I have noticed, like over here, they also you use powder here, and then it moves up to gems. The dust, and then it moves up to the crystals. They used copper nails here for the first two tiers, and then it moves to ingots from that, and it just stays ingots after that. So we see 10 and 24 here. So the pattern restarts here, right? So because we have 10, 15, and then we have 100, 150. So the next one will be 250. And the next two tiers after that will be 500. It gets really expensive after this point because they don't want us to go much further beyond this. These higher tiers are going to be incredibly expensive. I remembered going over this and thinking, okay, that makes sense. So if this 100 is equivalent to this 10, and this 150 is equivalent to this 15, so we'll have 100, and then we'll have 150, and so we just add a zero. So 250, 500, 500, 750, 750, 1,000, 1,500. The higher tiers of this is going to get super, super expensive because those higher tiers are going to be very unwieldy, and they want to make sure to put it way off in the distance so that you're not building ships that big until you're way high up where there's more room. Because I can imagine higher altitudes, the islands being spread further apart, so you can have gigantic ships that go really fast. Speed is probably the easiest one to see the pattern. And granted, they only give us 3, but the pattern is obvious in the 3, right? So we have 1, 5, 10. So you could assume that if this is the start of the repetition, so we have 1 and 5, then we'd have 10, 50. Then we'd have 100, 500. I don't think there's going to be very many speed upgrades because at that point, if we have 3 more speed upgrades, that would put us at 18. We'd go from 13, because it's 1.5 blocks each time, right? So the next one after this would be 15, and then 1650, and then 18 after 3 more upgrades. And that'd be 50, 100, 500. That'd be 500 coins. 500 coins, or 500 dust, and not dust, 500 sulfur and 500 blue crystal dust would be, to me, sounds like a good spot to be like the capstone of speed. And if you look at the patterns on the coins, it would be 125, 150, and then I could imagine them skipping one and going straight to 200 for the final one. So it'd be 500, 200, 500. That sounds like a good number to stop on, to say this is going to be our cap for speed. And it's double the base. It'd be 18. And that, you're going pretty quick at that point. I don't see the ships getting much faster than that. Not that I don't want them to get faster. There's going to come a point where just getting faster becomes, you get like a negative return because you're going to be moving so fast that, I noticed that when I'm moving at top speed, even at 13.5, it becomes difficult for me to stop because you have all this forward momentum. So even when you throw the ship in full reverse, you're still going forward for a good 5, 6 blocks. And I've bumped into stuff before because of that. So if we're going 18 blocks per second, you're going to go, if you decide, all right, I want to stop here, and you go throw it in full reverse to slow down, you're still going to go forward for like another 10 blocks. You're constantly going to be overshooting your mark. Now imagine if we're going, triple or quadruple the base speed. Could you imagine if we were going 36 blocks per second instead of the 1350? Well, almost triple? That would be insane. It would be very difficult to stop. So I don't think that we're going to see very many more speed upgrades. 2, maybe 3 tops. For altitude upgrades, this is completely the opposite. I don't think there will ever be a hard cap on altitude upgrades because altitude is a direct function of game progression. And as long as they keep adding new content, they'll keep adding new altitude. So what we have here, we have 1 ingot per altitude. And I think that is to signify that each altitude is opening up new challenges and new difficulties. So the next one, if we look at over here, will be iron. Because we have copper, bronze, iron. So we have copper, bronze. So it's easy to infer the next one will be iron. And then I think the next one after that will be pyrite. Because pyrite is a mixture of iron ore and sulfur. And I think whatever the next upgrade is going to be a mixture of iron and something else. I think pyrite is the next tier after iron. Which is why I think over here, the next tier after iron would be pyrite. Because you can see we have 1,510 copper, 1,510 bronze. I think we'll have 1,510 iron. And then the next tier after that would be 1,510 pyrite. If such a size scale exists. I mean, at that point, you're getting above, it'd be, let's see, it would be 75, 81, 85, 91, 95. You'd be over 100. It'd be 101 cubed. That is a huge, huge ship. And you're starting to get to a point where, because at 71 by 71, when I built the Dutchman, it was a 71 by 71, and it handled okay, but I had to zoom out all the way to be able to maneuver it, move it around. I can't imagine trying to maneuver something that is 100 blocks cubed. That is a very big ship. That's like a mothership. And unless they give us a way to have a big carrier with a bunch of tiny ships parked on it, I don't see the value in having, if they do that, if they allow us to build a bunch of tiny ships, and I do have some ideas for tiny ships once they unlock the drill, so that I can trim away all that ancient metal and the only thing that's left is just ship's core. I've got ideas for little shuttlecraft ships. But until that happens, I don't see a need. And moreover, one thing I've noticed, and I tried this, I went and parked a ship on the Dutchman to see if the Dutchman could move with a ship on it. It couldn't. The Dutchman was trapped. So if we go and build an aircraft carrier, and then we have a tiny little ship with 1 balloon and 1 engine and 1 power generator, and that's it. It's just the tiniest ship you can picture. The absolute minimum. Just the cockpit, 1 balloon, 1 motor, and 1 power generator, and that's it. If you park that on the deck of your ship will be stuck. It won't be able to move. It'll be pinned down. Until they give us the ability to move ships with other ships, like an aircraft carrier, there's no reason to have these ultra mega giant ships. So I don't think it's going to go. I think we'll get 2 more upgrades. I think it'll be Iron 5 and Iron 10, with the coins being 200 and 300, and then the planks are easy to see. It's just increments of 6. So it'll be 36 and 36. I think that's where it's going to stop. Until they figure out how to let us move ships with other ships. I don't think there's going to, I don't think there's going to be much more size upgrades beyond this. Speed upgrades, like I said, there's going to be 2. And then altitude upgrades, like I said, the next one I think is going to be iron and then pyrite after that. And then who knows? I'm sure at some point one of them will be ancient metal. I know there's steel. So after pyrite, we might get steel. And then after that, we might get ancient metal for the next altitude upgrade. And then the coins are just going in increments of 100. So it'd be 300, 400, 500, 600. I couldn't venture a guess here because this is not enough to form a pattern. Maybe the next one will be 8 or 10 crystals of force. I don't think we're going to see any more blue crystal dust in this chart. I think the blue crystal dust for altitude was just for the first one, because that's easier to get a hold of than the crystals of force. I think the only place we're really going to regularly see the blue crystal dust is over here. Although at this point, once we get to 10, they might switch to blue crystals, to crystals of force. The next 3 speed upgrades could be Crystals of Force. There's no real reason they couldn't switch it at this point. They could have, 1, 5, and 10 Crystals of Force over here instead of Blue Dust. And that would keep up with this pattern here of having Blue Dust and then, and they wouldn't even necessarily have to start at 1, because it doesn't switch from 3 dust to 3 crystals. They could come over here and start with 5. So the next 3 could be 5, 10, and 20. But altitude, I can't, like I said, I can only guess maybe 1 or 2 ahead. Beyond that, it's anybody's game. And then, of course, so this last category here, this last column, this is the total materials required to upgrade in all categories. So this is the sum of all this stuff over here, right? So a total, and this is just the demo version. If they were, or not if, but when they release the early access, if the numbers, if any of this stuff changes for early access, I'll be updating this chart and putting out a new chart. But for now, these are the numbers. So we have 168 forest planks, 34 copper nails, 17 copper ingots, 17 bronze ingots, 1 iron ingot, 1,075 coins, 19 blue crystal dust, and 5 crystals of force. And these are the numbers right here these are the numbers that I was motivated by to make this chart. Because this stuff is useful to look at, to see patterns and stuff, but the numbers that I really cared about were these totals over here. Because I more than once have been getting ready to upgrade a ship, and I was like, God, I wish I just knew what the numbers were, so I knew exactly how many resources to bring with me to this new ship that I'm building, so I could just upgrade it all the way in one shot and just be done. Because it's hard to memorize all these charts, but when you see it over here listed like this, nice and neat and concise, it's much easier to remember. This is 3, 6, 7, 8 numbers. This is 8 numbers you got to remember. It's easy. So I'm also going to be posting this after I upload this episode. I'm going to be posting this chart on my communities tab so that you guys can download it and have it for your records. And if somebody wants to go and post it on the Discord, that's fine. If I don't get around to it first, if somebody else wants to post it, that's fine. I don't claim any copyright or ownership to this chart. Obviously, these are all symbols from the game. I don't own any of this, obviously. So if somebody else wants to go and post this, I don't claim any ownership. Free distribution, whatever. This is just a little handy chart that I created, a reference guide, so that you guys can have this information easily and readily available. Anyway, thanks for checking out my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.